Hello and welcome to the analysis of the Hindu newspaper dated November 25th, 2022. In this video, we are going to talk about two important topics which are regarding the inflation, and the second one is regarding the Northern Sea route. Now, these topics are going to be very important, very significant for the civil services examination. But this doesn't discard the fact that other articles which were present in the Hindu newspaper weren't important. So we have presented an exhaustive list of the Hindu newspaper articles which are important for the civil services examination. You can go through all of these newspaper articles, but the two topics which we are going to discuss, the two articles which we have picked today are very significant, very important. So watch this video till the end and do subscribe to this channel to never miss an update from the bureaucratic way. If this is very clear to you, let's move ahead to the first important newspaper article. Now, this particular newspaper article talks about a monthly review which has been put forth by Finance Ministry. Now, Finance Ministry puts monthly reviews every month, right? That is why it is called monthly review. So, what does this particular review talks about? So, this particular review is regarding the Indian exports, right? So, the outlook for India's exports may be dented by the global slowdown, says the Finance Ministry. Now, this particular global slowdown is driven by the confluence of three factors. Now, these factors are stubbornly high inflation, rising borrowing cost, and the third one is geopolitical tensions. These are the factors which are responsible for global slowdown. But we can solve this problem. How we can solve this problem? By having resilient domestic demand. And the second one is reinvigorated investment cycle. When you have a strong domestic demand, then you do not need outside events to affect you or support you. When you have a good investment cycle, what it is going to do? It is going to provide more impetus to the growth, right? And what these two factors will do? It is going to first push the economy's growth, and the second one is that it is going to create more employments in the coming months, says the Finance Ministry, right? So now this particular report also talks about the high inflation, and it says that it is the root cause and the root cause of problem of high inflation is the pressures had been driven by the local factors. So the local factors are driving the inflation. Now these local factors include high food prices and then the imported reasons. Now the reasons of this inflation are not imported in nature. They have not come from the outside. They are due to the local factors. And what is the solution to it? The Finance Ministry says that there is going to be an ease in the international commodity prices. There is also an arrival of the Kharif season, which is going to somewhat decrease this particular inflation, right? Now, this particular review, monthly review, also talks about the MG Narega. Now, MG Narega has fallen behind somewhat because there is very low demand this particular year. Earlier in 2021 or in 2020, we have seen that there was very high demand because the workers had gone to their homes and they needed employment. So there was very high demand for the MG Narega work. But now it has reduced. But according to the Finance Ministry, there is also a rise in the tractor sales in the September and October, which means that there are improved sentiments, and it is expected that there will be an increase in the crop area sown. Now, if the crops are sown at much larger area, what it is going to do? It is going to have more crops. We are going to have more crops. When we are going to have more crops, we are going to have more grains, and hence the demands of the other countries also can be met. We can export our wheat, and at the same time the domestic demand will be fulfilled, and this is going to do what? It is going to provide more employment, right? This is what is the MG Narega. Let's now talk about the fears of the ministry. Now the ministry fears that there are three factors here. So the first fear is the rapid deterioration in the global growth prospects because the world is heading towards the recession according to many experts. And the second one is high inflation. The inflation is not being contained in the global perspective. In India also it is rising at the rate of 6% or something like that. And the third one is there are worsening financial conditions. The financial conditions of the countries are decreasing, and at the same time financial conditions of the corporations is also worsening with time. Now it will lead to two things. So the first thing is that there is going to be an increased fear of impending global recession, and when the fear comes in, then the global recession is bound to happen. Now this global recession is going to have spillover effects in India as well, and it is going to dampen or decrease the India's exports business outlook. All right. So now these are the fears of the ministry. Now let's talk about the other major pointers or the other major points which have been pointed out by the finance ministry. Now, the recent financial upheavals in the crypto exchanges and the connected intermediaries, the review noted, is a reminder of the unknown unknowns. We do not know things, and we are not knowing them in the future as well, because the crypto exchange or the crypto crash was there. The savings of the people are wiped up in a fortnight, right? Something like that. And this is going to happen in some places elsewhere as well. So the finance ministry says that we even do not know what is going to happen. There is going to be more turbulence in the future, says the finance ministry, but we should keep our hopes positive that this doesn't happen, but this can happen, right? That is why the monthly review has been put forth, and they are saying things like this. All right, so this is the monthly review which has been put by the finance ministry. We have analyzed this particular newspaper article, we have analyzed the monthly review. Let's now talk about the next important newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article is regarding the Russia's nuclear icebreakers. So what happened is that on November 22, Russian President Vladimir Putin virtually presided over the launch. He himself virtually presided over the launch and flag raising ceremony of two nuclear powered icebreakers at St. Petersburg, and said such icebreakers were of strategic importance. Now he says that icebreakers are of strategic importance. Now that may be important. This statement is important, right? They are of strategic importance. How? We are going to discuss it further. But first, let's understand what are these icebreakers. Now, icebreaker is a special purpose ship or boat designed to move and navigate through ice-covered waters and provide safe waterways for other boats and ships. Now, we know that Russia is closer to the Arctic Circle, right? Its northernmost point is closer to the Arctic Circle, right? So now it is going to have ice over there over in the water as well. So this ice is going to be broken by the icebreakers. Now icebreakers break the ice and they provide safe waterways for the other boats as well. Now as climate change opens up the Arctic, giving access to new routes and resources, there is a race by the adjoining countries to build up their militaries, and Russia has a clear lead over them. Now there is a new route which is known as Arctic Sea Route or Northern Sea Route, right? Northern Sea Route is going to be very significant. We are going to discuss it, but first let's discuss which are the icebreakers which have been flagged off recently. Now the Russian president has flagged off two icebreakers. The first one is Yakutia, named after a region in the Siberia in Russia. Now this is 173.3 meter long, and it produces a displacement of up to 33,540 tons and was launched into the water and can break through 3 meters of ice. All right, and the other one was the Ural vessel. Now Ural mountains, you would know, separates the European part of the Russia from the Siberia, right? So now this Ural vessel is going to join the services by 2024, and the more information wasn't present in this particular newspaper article regarding the Ural. But we know that there were two icebreakers which have been flagged off in St. Petersburg, right? So now the Russians have an existing fleet of icebreakers because they need the icebreakers. But with the addition of Yakutia and Ural, their icebreaker force is going to increase. Now they already have two similar vessels in the service, which are Arctica and Sibir, and it is also going to develop. Russia is going to develop a much more powerful 209 meter long icebreaker which is known as Rosia. And it has a displacement of 71,300 tons. Now this is going to come into completion by 2027. So this is the way forward of the Russians regarding the icebreakers. Now Mr. Putin talks about the importance of the northern sea route. Now northern sea route is something which the sea route which passes through the Arctic region of Russia, right? Now it is going to cut down time to reach Asia by up to 2 weeks compared to current sea route via the Suez Canal. Now when the Chinese ships or the vessels have to go to the Europe, then they have to travel to the Strait of Malacca, then they have to go through the Suez Canal, and then they will reach in the Europe, right? But this northern sea route, it is going to open up this particular area of the Arctic, and then it is going to do what? It is going to decrease the time. The time reduction is by 10 to 15 days, and it is going to reduce the distance from 21,000 kilometers to just about 12,800 kilometers. And the main reason for doing it is the melting of the Arctic Sea. Climate changes contributing to the melting of the Arctic Sea, and it is going to have a booming effect for the Russians because now they have the northern sea route and they are going to have a monopoly over there, right? Kind of monopoly over there. They are going to have much larger influence in that area. Now, in line with this, the updated Russian naval doctrine unveiled in July envisaged diversifying and stepping up naval activities on the Spitsbergen, Franz Josef Land, Novaya Zemlya archipelagos and Wrangel Islands. So all of the naval activities increment in this area is possible due to the opening up of the northern sea route, and in the future this route is going to open up more because the climate change is happening at a very fast pace. Now with this, there is a race towards the Arctic. The other countries are also getting into it. So there has been a race among the Arctic states and near Arctic states to augment their capabilities in bid to be ready to capitalize on melting Arctic. And apart from it, the Russian military modernization in the Arctic has prompted over Arctic states to join the bandwagon. And unlike the Antarctica, the Arctic region is not a global common, accentuating the problem. Now in the Antarctica region, what we do is that we solve the problems by accumulating all of our resources. But in the Arctic region, it's more about the militarization. It's more about occupying those areas. It's more about controlling those areas. And that is why it is very significant. This particular area becomes very significant for Russia, right? So now the competition is done by the NATO as well. That is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is an organization or military organization of the West countries, which include USA and some of the European countries. Now NATO has been conducting regular exercises in the region while partner countries are investing in upgrading military capabilities, right? And at the same time, China is not lagging behind. It is going to get into that state because they have the required money. So right now, the China is also talking about the polar silk route, which is going to connect to the Europe as well as building massive icebreakers. They are going to build the massive icebreakers and they are going to connect themselves with the European market through this polar silk route, because if the distance is going to decrease, that is from 21,000 kilometers to 12,800 kilometers, if this distance is decreasing, so what is going to happen? They have to use lesser fuel in order to reach the European market, which means more profitability, which means more money making, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the economy, it's all about the money, right? So this is the competition which is happening in the Arctic region. Now let's talk about where does India stand with this respect to the Arctic. Don't think that Arctic region is not very important to Indians, because since 2007, India has an Arctic research program with as many as 13 expeditions undertaken till date. Alright, so now in March 2022, India unveiled its first Arctic policy, which was titled as India and Arctic, Building a Partnership for Sustainable Development. Now, India is also one of the 13 observers in the Arctic Council, which is a council of all the Arctic and the near Arctic regions. Countries, and it is a leading intergovernmental forum promoting cooperation in the Arctic region. And if we talk about the economic importance of the Arctic, then Arctic is believed to hold about 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas. And if India can tap into all of these resources, if somehow they can collaborate with the other countries, then it is going to be of economic importance to India. And apart from it, if we talk about the Arctic Council, we have talked about here about the Arctic Council because it is the leading intergovernmental forum. Then it is an intergovernmental forum which promotes cooperation, coordination and intersection among the Arctic states, among the Arctic indigenous communities and other Arctic inhabitants on common Arctic issues. The issues they are going to talk about are related to the Arctic region, and in particular these issues are going to be about the sustainable development and environmental protection in the Arctic. If we talk about the member states of the Arctic, then it is going to have 8 Arctic states, which are namely Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden and United States. Why United States? Is it an Arctic state? Yes, it is an Arctic state. Why? Because it has Alaska, which amounts to it calling it as an Arctic state, and that is why it is part of it, right? Don't think that it is putting its nose everywhere. So these are the 8 Arctic states, and we also have 6 permanent participants, which are the organizations of the different countries, right? And we also have 38 observer states, and India is also an observer state of the Arctic Council, right? So now the Arctic region is very important to us. That is why we have set up the Himadri station, which is a research station located at Spitsbergen, Svalbard in Norway. And we also have INDARC, which is India's first underwater mood observatory in Arctic region, which was established in 2014. And Himadri station, minded, it was established in 2008. So these are the 2 research stations which are present in the Arctic region. So Arctic region is very significant for us, but so this particular Arctic region is very important to us, right? So that is why we have discussed this particular newspaper article, and this particular newspaper article gave insights into everything about the Arctic region and about the icebreakers, and that is why we have discussed this particular newspaper article. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article, and this is it for the day. Thank you from my side. Do like and share the video and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day. Bye.